Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Shrila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Sorry, I thought you were finished already. Deutsch oder Englisch? Also, wer versteht kein Englisch? Boah, schon eine Menge. Who doesn't understand German? Everybody understands German. Except two Matajis. Danke. Ich werde in Deutsch sprechen. No, warte mal. No, sorry, in English. In English. If somebody could translate into German. Ich habe viele Zitate und das Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Come auf den ersten Kanto. Ja? Ich habe hier keinen Empfang. Englisch. Nee, warte mal. Englisch. Hab keinen Empfang. Mhm. Ja. Ja. Ich habe weder mit meinem alten Notebook noch mit dem Handy Empfang. WLAN. Erfordert Autorisierung. Okay. So. Sorry. So. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Umagyanti Mirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today on the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, we're reading in the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, text number 11. Tatvak visargo janataga viplavo. Tatvak visargo janataga viplavo. Yasmin pratishlokam abhadavatyapi. In pratishlokam abhadavatyapi. Yasmin pratishlokam abhadavatyapi. Pratishlokam abhadavatyapi. Naman yanantasya yashon kitani yat. Yatasya yashon kitani yat. Naman yanantasya yashon kitani yat. Yashon kitani yat. Shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadava. Shinvanti Gayanti Krinanti Sadava Tadvak Visargo Janata Gaviplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abadavapyapi Namanyanantasya Yashon Kitaniyat Shinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadava Kitaniyat Shinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadava Tatvak Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhatyava Tatvak Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhatyava Namanyantasya Yashon Kitaniyat Shinvanti Gayanti Visargo Gaviplavo Tasmin Prati Shlokam Abhatyava Namanyanantasya Yashon Kitaniyat Vanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadava Sargo Janata Gaviplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhatyavapyapi Dhanantasya Yashon Kitaniyat Shinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadava Vak vocabulary Visarga creation Janata the people in general Agha sins Viplava revolutionary Yasmin in which Prati Shlokam each and every stanza Abadhavati irregularly composed Api in spite of Namani transcendental names and so on Anantasya of the unlimited Lord Yasha glories Ankitani depicted Yat what Shinvanti do hear Gayanti do sing. Grinanti, do accept. Sadhava, the purified men who are honest. Translation. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, and so on, of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the empire's lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Some devotees perceive that in this verse the appearance of Srila Prabhupada was kind of predicted. The Bhagavatams Srila Prabhupada brought to America. They are Prabhupada, and the Prabhupada calls it imperfectly composed, yet. And we have a set of these books that Srila Prabhupada brought to the West. Srila Prabhupada brought 200 sets of Bhagavatams with him. And one of these 200 sets is here in this box. The paper was brought by Srila Prabhupada to the printer. He proofread everything. He proofread the Bhagavatams, and he packed these 200 sets in boxes, and so they were transported with him to America. So, with his own hands, Srila Prabhupada moved this Bhagavatams. He produced it and moved it, and so it came here. It's very, very special. Touched by Srila Prabhupada. The purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stock of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanzas of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Sorry, it was a long sentence and I didn't get it proper. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. When there is fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to help from the... When there's fire in the house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners, and yet without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literatures, yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read, that is a natural instinct, but because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for the hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning they may not like it, because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures, which are catering poison to society, will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. For it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. Tatvakvisargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhatyavatyapi naman yanantasya yashon kitaniyat shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhavam. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, and so on of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. This verse is referring to Srila Prabhupada, as I mentioned. In one point, which Srila Prabhupada also explains, that it is imperfectly composed. Now, Prabhupada describes in the purport, because it is not his because it is Prabhupada composed it in a foreign language. He writes, it will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt. The first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, if you look at the books, there are so many things, so many points to edit And the devotees did it when they translated Srimad Bhagavatam and the other books into, oh ja, danke. Boah, nectar. When they translated, when they edited the books, they corrected what Srila Prabhupada had written. Srila Prabhupada told his disciples, put it nicely. He wanted that they edit the books to such a state that everybody is very easily able to read and understand these essential literatures brought to us by Srila Prabhupada. And also, it is said this Bhagavatam is about toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Srila Prabhupada was a revolutionary. In school, he did not like to go to school, Srila Prabhupada. And his father used to say, well, if he doesn't want to go today, I think he will go tomorrow. So, his father was very lenient, very kind towards him. But his mother, she was not lenient. She engaged a person who collected the children from the neighborhood, including little Abai, and put them in kind of cage on his big bicycle, on his rickshaw, transportation rickshaw, a big cage full of small children who didn't want to go to school. And he brought the children to school, delivered them to the teacher, and they had to sit and listen. Prabhupada didn't like it. Later on, Srila Prabhupada became a follower of Gandhi. Gandhi was a revolutionary. Prabhupada knew he's not perfect, but he is as honest as a politician can be. Let's say like this. Gandhi, he lived a pure life. Prabhupada quotes him, quoted several times this statement by Gandhi. Somebody asked Gandhi, Gandhiji, what is the best way to live? And Gandhi said, simple living, high thinking. That's what Srila Prabhupada quoted quite often. Comes from Gandhi. Prabhupada became a follower of Gandhi. He saw that the Britishers, how Prabhupada called them, the Britishers in India, behaved very immoral, to say the least. One time they killed many hundred of peaceful people who just had held a congregation. And the Britishers came, declared it to be a revolution, and with their guns they surrounded these people and killed all of them. Many other things. They tried to exploit the Indian nation. One Indian guy, he kind of started the Indology. He wrote, it became public, he wrote, as long as these people follow their culture, their scriptures, there will be no following of our directions. We have to destroy their faith in their scriptures, in their culture. Then we will be able to direct all these people. So the Indologists, they learn Sanskrit. Still there's a Max Müller Institute in Delhi, other places also. They studied the scriptures and they presented them, and they presented them in such a way that they tried to destroy the faith of the people in their culture. And Srila Prabhupada saw this, and he saw that Gandhi was trying to do something against this. Gandhi called it non-cooperation movement. He just called the people to do their own thing. The Britishers took all the cotton, brought it to England, turned it into very nicely woven cloths, and brought them back to India and sold it very expensively. Gandhi said, this is exploitation. Just weave your own clothes. Take the cotton take your cotton from your fields. Get a, I don't know what's it called, Webstuhl in English. This machine for weaving cloth. Get such a machine and make your own clothes. So, in this way, the khadi was invented, was created. Khadi, a very kind of coarse looking, not shiny and beautiful cloth, like industrial made, but homemade, handmade. Gandhi and his followers, they were wearing this khadi clothes. And Srila Prabhupada also put on these khadi clothes. Gandhi called for non-cooperation, and Srila Prabhupada, he did it. When he finally finished his school, there was the big event where everybody got his document. Yes, he finished his studies, and now he is a high school disciple. Prabhupada didn't go there. Prabhupada didn't go there. They must have called his name. So, now, Abhay Charande, please come forward. Nobody came. Prabhupada wasn't there. He didn't want this document. He didn't want their notification that he followed their instructions and that he cared for their culture. Prabhupada just rejected it. His father, he accepted it. He accepted Abhay's decision, but he was little concerned how would his son be able to maintain himself and later on a family. And so Guru Mohan De, he asked a friend, Kartik Chandra Bose, Dr. Bose, who ran a pharmaceutical company production. And Srila Prabhupada became a manager, department manager in this company. Dr. Bose was very satisfied. He was very glad to have such a qualified and intelligent young man in his company. Later on, Srila Prabhupada, he started his own production of medicines and sold them all over India. I'd like to read a little about from the I'd like to read a little from the Prabhupada Lilamrita. This Lilamrita, written by Sasarup Maharaj, started like this. It was Janmastami, the annual celebration of the advent of Lord Krishna, some 5,000 years before. Residents of Calcutta, mostly Bengalis and other Indians, but also many Muslims and even some British, were observing the festive day, moving here and there through the city's streets to visit the temples of Lord Krishna. Devout Vaishnavas, fasting until midnight, chanted Hare Krishna and heard about the birth and activities of Lord Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam. They continued fasting, chanting and worshipping throughout the night. The next day, September the 1st, 1896, in a little house in the Toliganj suburb of Calcutta, a male child was born. Since he was born on Nandotsava, the day Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, had observed a festival in honor of Krishna's birth, the boy's uncle called him Nandulal. But his father, Gomohan De, and his mother, Rajani, named him Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, having taken shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. In accordance with Bengali tradition, the mother had gone to the home of her parents for the delivery. And so it was that on the bank of the Adi Ganga, a few miles from his father's home, in a small 2-room, mud-walled house with a tiled roof, underneath a jackfruit tree, Abhay Charan was born. A few days later, Abhay returned with his parents to their home at 151 Harrison Road. An astrologer did a horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a specific prediction. When this child reached the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. And this prediction became true. Prabhupada said there are very few good astrologers. And this astrologer obviously was a very good one. He could see Srila Prabhupada's life by his calculations. And Srila Prabhupada, it took him 70 years of preparation. One book of the Lilamrita, of the book describing the life of Srila Prabhupada. One book, the first one, is called A Lifetime in Preparation. After Srila Prabhupada had become a producer of pharmaceutical products, he traveled all over India. And one day, when he was in Calcutta, a friend came to him and told him about his sadhu. He asked Abhay to come and look at him. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was already accepted as a leader amongst his friends. Prabhupada was reluctant. He didn't like to go. His father was a pure devotee, very great soul. And at noontime, he went on the street and called, "If there's anybody hungry, please come and take a meal with us." And every day, some sadhu came. Prabhupada saw that there are so many so-called sadhus wearing saffron, carrying a stick maybe, just so that they could declare themselves sadhus or sannyasis, so that people would invite them, and that they didn't have to work for their food. They just walked around, slept somewhere, and at noontime they showed up. Somebody offered a meal, they would come and take that meal and allow the people to praise them as great sadhus. Prabhupada saw that the so-called sadhus were, he had never seen a real sadhu. They were cheaters. They didn't know anything. And Srila Prabhupada, when his friends asked him to go with him to have a look at this sannyasi who had come to Calcutta, Prabhupada was reluctant. No, I don't want to go. But his friends insisted, oh, Abba, you have to come and look at him. Please come with us. So Prabhupada finally relented and went with his friends to go and visit this sannyasi. And as well cultured young men, when they came into the presence of this sannyasi, they offered their obeisances. Prabhupada said that we should even offer obeisances to a Mayavadi sannyasi to respect the renunciation of this person, of this sannyasi. So although Srila Prabhupada didn't have high expectations, he offered his obeisances together with his friends nonetheless to the sannyasi on the roof of a house. And when they got up, the first thing the sannyasi said was, "You are educated young men. Why don't you spread the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English language?" That kind of took Srila Prabhupada aback. That was astonishing, how this person was asking them to perform this extreme preaching work. In other words, he asked them to go abroad, go to the English-speaking countries and spread the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. There's this verse, Pritiviti Achiyata Nagaradigram Savatra Pracharya Hoy Memorana. In every city and every village, all over the world, my holy name will be heard. That was a prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the devotees, the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, nobody understood it. It was considered low class, kind of forbidden to go abroad, to go to other countries where there was no Vedic culture, at least some remnants of Vedic culture. Nobody went there. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he started sending some of his disciples to the West, but they went and visited some people, but had no success. Bon Maharaj, he preached to a famous lord, and this lord said, "Yeah, well, I would be interested in becoming a brahmana too. So, what are the requirements?" Bon Maharaj, well, no meat, fish and eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication, including tea and alcohol, and no gambling. And this Lord, oh my God, what is the use of living? No, that I cannot follow. So they had no success. The few devotees who followed Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's order, they didn't have any success. They even came to Germany. They had contact with the Nazi elite. Actually, Hitler and Goebbels, propaganda minister, they started reading Bhagavad Gita, but they got it all wrong. Aryans does not mean, an Arya is not a person who is blonde and blue-eyed. Blue-eyed is also a term of describing a naive person. Blonde, there are so many jokes about blondes as simple, naive people. So, an Aryan is not somebody who is blue-eyed and blonde, but an Aryan means a person who knows about the higher values of life. Somebody who is leading a spiritual life. Somebody whose values are spiritual. That's an Aryan. Germans, they got it wrong. They even took the swastika, the symbol for the sun, and used that as their logo. But it was wrong way around. They got everything wrong. They got everything. They didn't understand anything. So there was no success. And the devotees were discussing. One day, Prabhupada's godbrother, O.B.L. Kapoor, he asked his friend, Abhaya Charnaravinda, how Prabhupada was called after initiation. He asked him, "What do you think, Abhaya Charnaravinda? How will this ever take place, this prediction that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name will be spread all over the world? How shall that take place?" And Prabhupada said at that time, "Some fool will do it." Prabhupada knew that was his life's mission. He knew he had to do this. And Prabhupada was preparing. He started publishing a small magazine, Back to Godhead. That should be our life's motto, everybody's life's motto, to go back to Godhead. The pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, he saw that everybody is suffering in this world. If you only lead a material life, you cannot become happy. You don't become happy. This body is like a machine. If you only take care of the body, it is just like having a bird in a cage. And if you only take care of the cage, polish the metal and putting new sand and putting some flowers on it maybe. But if you only take care of the cage, but don't take care of the bird within it, then the bird will not survive. The bird will die someday. Sorry. Same way. Prabhupada saw that people who only lead a materialistic life, they cannot become happy because they just don't follow their nature. They don't know who they are. They don't know how to live. They have no real values in life. They have no description how to live, how to act, as Krishna says in Gita, but they don't know what to do and what not to do. People don't know what to do and what not to do, doing all kinds of nonsense. So Srila Prabhupada saw it. Also in India, increasingly. So he wrote his magazine, Back to Godhead. And he went to small cafes like this. And there he approached people, sold them Back to Godhead. And also he went to rich people, asked for donations. And then with the money he earned, he bought paper. Also, he was writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, in India, in Vrindavan, Delhi. He had his small places, his small rooms. There he was writing the Bhagavatam, he was writing the books. Then Prabhupada transported the paper to the printer. He got a print and he proofread, and the books were printed. And then Srila Prabhupada, finally he met one Mrs. Sumati Moraji. She was the owner of a steamship company, and Prabhupada asked her for a passage to America. And she said, "Oh, Swamiji, but you are too old, you are too weak. You will give up your body because it's very strenuous. Travel in a small steamship to America." But Prabhupada insisted. He sat down in the secretary's room in front of her office, and he would not go, he would not move. The secretary came to her, "Mrs. Moraji, this sadhu, he does not go, he will not go away." And then finally she reluctantly agreed and allowed Srila Prabhupada a passage on this boat. So Srila Prabhupada, he came to America with 200 sets of Srimad Bhagavatams. One is here, we can see it. One is here, one of the books, sets that Srila Prabhupada brought here, is there. And a small suitcase, one umbrella, and Srila Prabhupada carried a bag of grains with him. His godbrothers had told him, in the West, you cannot go there, you can't eat anything. Everything is polluted by meat. So Srila Prabhupada, he took for the case that you wouldn't get anything to eat, he took this bag with grains with him. If there was nothing else, he would boil potatoes and these grains, and he would live on that. Srila Prabhupada, he suffered 2 heart attacks on the voyage, high waves. Prabhupada got very seasick, and he got 1 heart attack, then another one. And he said if somebody gets 3rd heart attack, he gives up the body normally. Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks. Then at night, Srila Prabhupada had a dream. He was sitting in a boat, and this boat was rowed by different incarnations of Krishna. They were there, rowing the boat, transporting Srila Prabhupada. And Krishna told Srila Prabhupada that he would take care of him, that he didn't have to worry. And from then on, the voyage was very, very peaceful. The captain, I forgot the name, great soul, he said afterwards, this voyage was the most peaceful voyage I ever experienced. You should come, he said to Prabhupada, you should come with us every time. Such a peaceful crossing of the ocean. And we know Srila Prabhupada started trying to preach. And for 1 year he had practically no success. He had to live at a yoga studio of Dr. Mishra in Mayavadi. And some old ladies, then he had to move out because Srila Prabhupada was preaching against Mayavadi, against Mayavad. Prabhupada Dr. Mishra, he moved Srila Prabhupada to a small room, to a small office he had in the city. Small room inside a big skyscraper. There were no windows, there was no light. And Srila Prabhupada, he was living there and he walked through the streets. Prabhupada said later on, he walked through the city to watch the people, how they were living, what they were doing, what they were hankering, what they were endeavoring for, their lifestyle. Wanted to understand them. Srila Prabhupada was walking in the streets, and Srila Prabhupada made no compromises. His godbrothers had told him, so, Prabhu, Maharaj at that time already, when he left, you have to wear Western clothes. You have to wear trousers and suit and a tie to appear like a gentleman, to be accepted by people. And Prabhupada, no, I will not do it. I don't want to take on what they give, what they have. I want to give them the original culture. And Srila Prabhupada appeared in his Vaishnava clothes, his dhoti, sannyas dhoti, kurta, chadar, his Swami hat, this kind of hat that nobody else in America had, only Srila Prabhupada. And he was wearing these rubber shoes that some people are still wearing. They are made of rubber, and the point, it's directed upwards a little. Looks like a boat or something. Prabhupada was wearing these shoes. In this way he was walking through the streets. His head, Prabhupada used to hold his head high. He always was going very straight. His bodily posture was straight. And he was, he appeared very confident. And one day, a young man addressed him on the street, and he said, "Are you from India?" I mean, how else? Where else would Prabhupada come from? This devotee later said, Prabhupada, he was looking like a genie from a bottle. These jinns, this ghosts, they come from a bottle, looking very orientally, very special. And Prabhupada, he was there. And Dr. Howard Wheeler, he actually was working as a professor. He was a professor, English professor, but he did not want to teach the young people what the system wanted to give them. He did not want to give that. He just worked as a taxi driver to pay his rent and food. And he wanted to go to India, looking for a guru, looking for higher values, looking for spiritual values of life. And when he saw Prabhupada, he said, "Who is he? Looking like a jinn from a bottle, so special." He went to Prabhupada and addressed him. "Oh, sorry, do you come from India?" Prabhupada said, "Yes." "Oh, I also wanted to go to India to look for a guru." And Prabhupada said, "You may come to my place." Haribol Prabhu. "You may come to my place, my apartment, every Wednesday and Saturday or Sunday. We have meeting and talk about Bhagavad Gita." And this person, Howard Wheeler, Wie hieß er später? Hayagriva. Thank you. Hayagriva. Hayagriva, he went there, he heard what Srila Prabhupada had to say, and he was very deeply impressed, and he saw this is genuine. This person is a real saint, a real sage, and what he has to say, that is so essential, so important. And he went to, and he told all his friends about this. Some devotee, Mukunda, he was working in a vegetarian restaurant, macrobiotic, and he was working there as a waiter. Actually, Mukunda, Michael Green, he was a professional musician playing piano. They said he even played on a recording with Miles Davis, famous, very good musician. So, Howard Wheeler, after he met Prabhupada, he went to this, he told all his friends about Srila Prabhupada. And many of them came and visited Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita classes. And they were able to appreciate and accept Srila Prabhupada as their spiritual leader. And slowly the movement developed. These devotees, these followers, they arranged for the first a little temple at 26 2nd Avenue. There was a shop. Before was a shop, matchless gifts, kind of prophetic. Srila Prabhupada, what he had to give, it were matchless gifts. Gifts nothing else matched. And also in the backyard there was a small room. They also rented that. Everybody threw in something from their income, and to pay for this little temple and for the room for Srila Prabhupada. So in this way this movement started. Would be one reason to go to America. I've never been there, and I think I will never go there. But to visit this place, 26 2nd Avenue, it is said it was small place. It was kind of narrow, lengthy, display window. And Srila Prabhupada started preaching. And slowly, finally he introduced the love feast on Sundays. And that became famous amongst the young people who lived at the Bowery, the hippie quarter. Every hippies and foreigners who wanted cheap rooms, they were living there. And many came. Prabhupada chanted, spoke on Bhagavad Gita, and then they served out the feast. Prabhupada cooked. Prabhupada himself cooked a feast on Sundays. A love feast, they called it. And the devotees put posters in the head shops and whatever was there. And the people came. One devotee, he remembered one day he stayed a little longer after the feast, after the love feast, and everybody was gone, and he saw there was only Srila Prabhupada left and him. And he asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, who will clean all these pots and utensils in the kitchen. Who is doing this always, every Sunday? Prabhupada said, well, I am doing. And he said, oh, should I do it for you? Prabhupada said, yes, this is very nice. In this way, it's this mood came up of serving and of service. Also in other cases, of course. So, we won't go any longer. Is there any question? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.